the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the Coca-Cola Company, Mr. Muhtar Kent.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our luncheon in honor of the President of the People's Republic of China, the Honorable Hu Jintao, and our distinguished guests from the China delegation. Our two co-hosts today, the U.S. China Business Council and the National Committee on U.S. China Relations, are delighted and are honored that you could join us on this historic occasion, Mr. President. We all recognize that the U.S.-China relationship grows more important every single day. In just the last few months, we've witnessed an unprecedented level of high exchanges. Last September, Premier Wen Jiabao visited New York, and many of you probably recall that our two organizations again co-hosted a dinner for him during that visit. This past December, Vice Premier Wang Qishan visited Washington, D.C., and just last week, Defense Secretary Gates was in Beijing. And now, President Hu is making this state visit to our nation's capital as well as to Chicago. Yesterday, I had the privilege of attending a special and historic meeting with President Hu, President Obama, and with business and government leaders from both our countries. We had a very productive discussion about the unique and powerful role that businesses in China and America can play in creating, firstly, greater understanding between our nations, promoting innovation as well as investment, and generating jobs and opportunities for American and Chinese communities. There's no question that China's and America's businesses can and should play an increasing role in building bridges of understanding between our two nations. No force has ever played as prominent a role in fostering greater prosperity, greater harmony, and greater goodwill among nations than the positive and enduring force of business and commerce. For those of us who are working to promote stronger ties between our two nations, the rise of these and other dialogues is a very positive trend indeed. So while differences and challenges do exist, this increased dialogue represents a sincere desire to build stronger U.S.-China relations. Today, and also in the decades ahead, U.S.-China relationship will be the most important bilateral relationship. Indeed, strengthening that relationship is better for China, is better for the United States, and is better for the world. So as we come together, understand each other, and find more common ground, the less we are likely to raise obstacles to trade, to innovation, to investment, and to economic growth. An important example is an agreement signed yesterday between the China Council for Promotion of International Trade, CCPIT, and the U.S. China Business Council that actually formalizes a series of seminars that provide expert training on how to invest in the United States to Chinese businesses. In the years ahead, we will become more, not less, dependent on each other for our own economic success. It is our strongly held belief that over the long run, innovation and economic growth are most effectively achieved by open trade and dialogue. This will be equally true for all other aspects of our relationship as well. And for these reasons, we are so extremely pleased to welcome President Hu and to hear in just a few minutes his policy speech on U.S.-China relations. In honor of this very historic moment, I would like to propose a toast to President Hu and also to his esteemed delegation. Come by. Gentlemen, to the future, great future of China, the great future of the United States, and to the continued health of strong U.S. relations. Now, I'd like to introduce a gentleman and a friend who plays a critical role in shaping healthy U.S. relations with China. Secretary of Commerce Gary Locke has graciously agreed to make remarks on behalf of the Obama administration this afternoon. Secretary Locke, as you know, just last month co-chaired the successful JCCT, and I should note that two other leaders of that important dialogue are also here today with us. Secretary Locke's co-chair, U.S. Trade Representative Ron Kirk, and of course, well known to all of us in this room, China's Vice Premier Wang Qishan. I applaud and I thank all three of you for the important work. Secretary Locke is a strong supporter of balanced and constructive U.S.-China commercial relations. We are really fortunate to have him representing our commercial interests here and around the globe, and fortunate to hear his remarks today. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Secretary of Commerce Gary Locke.
Well, thank you very much, Mukhtar, for the introduction, and I'm very, very honored and very pleased to be here representing President Obama and his administration, and to see so many familiar faces who have helped make the relationship between the United States and China the critically important one that it is today. I also know that there will be introductions of some of our and speakers who have contributed much to U.S.-China relations over the years, but I would like to acknowledge some of them who are in the audience today and to ask them to all stand. But we have with us some of the former ambassadors to China from the United States who have contributed so much to this incredible relationship. And Ambassador Sasser, Win Lord, Brewer, and of course our current Ambassador Huntsman. Please stand up and be recognized. Thank you. There they are in the audience. Thank you very much. Thanks for your great work. And also trade representatives over the past several years that have really done so much to ensure opening of market access on behalf of U.S. companies. Of course, you'll be hearing from her shortly, but U.S. Trade Representative Carla Hills, Susan Schwab, Mickey Cantor, who is also Commerce Secretary, and of course, Ron Kirk. Please stand and be acknowledged as well. Thank you very much. And of course, some cabinet members. I see former Secretary of Defense Bill Cohen and Secretary of Treasury Robert Rubin in the audience. Please stand up and thank you for your incredible contributions to U.S.-China relations. Well, on behalf of President Obama, Ambassador Kirk, and Lee Zack, who's head of the U.S. Trade Development Agency, we welcome our guest of honor, Chinese President Hu Jintao, whose leadership has helped raise the standard of living in China and helped transform it into a global economic power, one that is playing a critical role in nursing the world economy back to health. It goes without saying that President Hu has also been an important partner in the developing relationship between China and the United States. Over the years, I've had the privilege of taking many trips to China. Started more than 20 years ago, and each time that I visit China, I am awed by how fast China has grown since the previous visit. And under the leadership of President Hu and his predecessors and his colleagues in the Chinese government, during the last 30 years, we've seen China lift hundreds of millions of its people out of poverty and into the ranks of a growing middle class. And this stands as one of the most impressive accomplishments of the modern era and one of the most impressive accomplishments in Chinese history. Indeed, spanning thousands of years, China has contributed so much to world civilization. And there are countless inventions and innovations, including the abacus and the seismograph, silk and cast iron, the compass, the clock, gunpowder and fireworks, paper and the printing press, acupuncture and herbal medicine. And China has also made tremendous cultural contributions to humanity, from the arts and architecture to philosophy and religion. So it's no surprise that China has historically been one of the world's great trading nations. As one end of the Silk Road, China was a destination for people, goods, and ideas for centuries, long before its current rise to global prominence. As China has grown these past 30 years, its importance to the United States and the global economy has grown to the point where today, China and the United States have perhaps the most important bilateral trading relationship in the entire world. And ensuring that this relationship continues to be defined by cooperation is in the interest of all of our people. The United States and China must lead the way together in helping the world emerge from one of the worst economic crises in generations. And as we face the great global challenges of our age, poverty reduction, climate change, environmental stewardship, and many others, both nations have a critical role to play. Each of these problems is very different, but we do know that the solutions to many of them will require a degree of technological innovation that will challenge our businesses and our innovators as never before. And that's why it's so important that both China and the United States maintain our commitments to a global trading system based on openness and respect for the rule of law. Only then will capital, new ideas, and products flow freely across our borders. We must do everything we can to ensure that our best minds, whether they live in Beijing or Chicago or San Francisco, are able to cooperate and innovate together. Whereas the past few decades could be characterized largely by China making and United States consumers taking, we now have a chance to build a more equitable commercial partnership, a relationship with empowered Chinese consumers buying more goods and services from U.S. companies, more Chinese companies investing in the United States, and Chinese and American innovators working side by side to develop breakthrough technologies in sectors ranging from energy to biotechnology. As China adopts a more open environment for trade and investment and improves the protection and enforcement of intellectual property laws, we will see a more balanced commercial relationship between the United States and China. The United States welcomes President Hu Jintao's efforts to further open China to the global economy, and we look forward to working together toward a more mutually beneficial trading relationship between the United States and China in the months and years to come. President Hu, it's a great honor for the American people to host you here and have you here in America. We welcome you. We hope that your visit has been productive and enjoyable. And after you leave Chicago, we hope that your entire visit will be one of great memories and great progress. Now I'd like to turn the podium over to Ambassador Carla Hills, Chair of the National Committee on U.S. China Relations, a person who is a great friend of improved relations between our two great nations. Ambassador Hill.
Thank you, Secretary Locke. The National Committee on U.S. China Relations believes very strongly that collaboration between our two nations is good for the American people, good for the Chinese people, and indeed very good for the world community. So we applaud Secretary Locke's comments, and we very much appreciate his presence here today. And it gives me enormous pleasure to call upon a dear friend, our 56th Secretary of State, who has played a dominant role in U.S. foreign policy for more than 6 decades, beginning with his service in the United States Army during World War II, to his contributions as National Security Advisor and Secretary of State to Presidents Nixon and Ford. Henry Kissinger has devoted his life to service to his country and the search for global peace. Few diplomats have had such an impact on foreign affairs. He pioneered the policy of détente and negotiated a ceasefire in Vietnam and negotiated the Paris Peace Accords. His unannounced trip to Beijing in 1971 laid the groundwork for the Shanghai Communique, paving the way for the reestablishment of diplomatic relationships between the United States and China. He is the recipient of a very long list of prestigious awards, including the prestigious Presidential Medal of Freedom, our nation's highest award to a civilian. Through his prolific writings and global travels, he continues to influence thinking on critical foreign policy issues. Please join me in welcoming to the podium a very special American and a dear friend, Dr. Henry Kissinger, who will introduce our guest of honor, the President of the People's Republic of China, Hu Jintao. Henry.
Mr. President, distinguished guests, before I say anything else, let me congratulate President Hu Jintao on his successful summit in Washington, which I'm sure will be marked as a turning point that starts a cooperative dimension in dealing with the important issues that are before us. When we finished the communique announcing my secret visit, Premier Zhou Enlai turned to me and said, "This will shake the world." And indeed, the opening of relations between China and the United States after so many years of separation did shake the world. Since then, 8 American presidents, 4 generations of Chinese leaders have worked on this relationship. And when I think of the Chinese leaders, from Chairman Mao, who unified the country, to Deng Xiaoping, who started the reform and opening, to Jiang Zemin, who implemented those concepts in a difficult period, and then to President Hu Jintao, who developed and built on the achievements of its predecessors and came into a situation where both inside China and on relations of China with the rest of the world, it was a seminal contribution to call for harmony and cooperation and friendship. And at this period, this call for a harmonious world finds its best expression and in close cooperation with the United States, between the United States and China. If our two countries work together, most of the problems that are before us will find a creative solution. And if they don't, then there is no possibility for one side or the other achieving a success over the other. So, therefore, we can call this summit a success, not because it has solved every problem, but because it has shown a way by which the problems can and will be solved. And the manner in which our two presidents have worked together and the consultative arrangements they have set up indicates a direction and an obligation to all of their associates to work creatively. This is a great achievement, and it makes us proud to be in this room. Having now, looking back to 40 years of association, to me and to many of the Americans here, China is not a foreign country. China is a country of the friends we see sitting around these tables, with whom we have shared many experiences and which create an imperative within us to continue on this direction. I began by saying that Premier Zhou said we have done something to shake the world. This generation has a different task. This generation, we came together in a period of controversy. This generation lives in a period of transition. And in this period of transition, we can say that we are working to build a world, not to shake it. And it's in that spirit that we thank the Chinese participants here. And I would like to introduce President Hu Jintao, who has contributed so much to making this world, this cooperation possible, and for the vision he has given to his society and to all of us.